North Korea's forests. Back in August, Seoul officials visited the North's Kumgangsan mountain for a joint survey. During Thursday's on-site visit, forestry teams from South and North Korea also touched upon modernizing tree nurseries as well. At their forestry talks in October, the two sides agreed to start upgrading 10 tree nurseries in the north this year, which South Korea is determined to carry out. Seoul says it's been communicating with Washington through their bilateral working group and will seek ways not to violate the international sanctions. 오정희, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korea says it will go ahead and prepare to hold a ceremony with North Korea to break ground on a project to connect their railways and roads. Seoul's Unification Ministry said Thursday that there's not much time left, but it expressed confidence that the ceremony can take place within this year. The ministry stressed that this is a crucial opportunity to achieve the government's goal of creating an economic belt with the North and to become a key logistics hub in East Asia. The two Koreas are starting long overdue joint inspections of railways in the North tomorrow, thanks to waivers granted by the UN and the U.S. for their sanctions. Over the next 2.5 weeks, an inter-Korean research team will conduct tests using train cars on the western Gyeonggi Line and the eastern Donghae Line. The Koreans forced to work for the Japanese firm Mitsubishi during World War II have finally won in two separate court cases. South Korea's Supreme Court decided on Thursday in the first one to uphold a lower court ruling ordering Mitsubishi Heavy Industries to compensate each of 23 plaintiffs, or in case they're deceased, their relatives. The court ordered the firm to pay around $90,000 for unpaid work at Mitsubishi factories back in 1944. The Supreme Court reasoned that the 1965 agreement under which Japan paid South Korea $500 million to normalize their diplomatic relations did not terminate the right of individuals to seek reparations. In the second ruling, the court ordered Mitsubishi to compensate 4 elderly women and a relative of a plaintiff who has died. The 5 women sued Mitsubishi back in 1999 in Japan but lost and filed another lawsuit in Korea in 2012. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is en route to Argentina for this year's G20 Summit. While he's in South America, he'll also be holding separate talks with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. President Moon will be hoping he and President Trump can do something to get dialogue between Washington and North Korea back on track after several weeks of apparent silence. Shin Se-min reports.
The summit between Presidents Moon Jae-in and Donald Trump of the U.S. is confirmed. Following the announcement by the White House, South Korea's presidential office too says that the leaders will be meeting on the sidelines of the G20 Summit in Argentina this weekend.
South Korea and the US will focus on ways to pursue complete denuclearization and lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula, all while working to boost bilateral cooperation.
The exact time and date, though, have not yet been confirmed, given both leaders' packed schedules in Buenos Aires. But it will be their first meeting since September in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, and their 6th in total. It's believed that Seoul and Washington are keeping so closely in touch because of the lack of concrete outcomes in North Korea's denuclearization, and now that a high-level meeting between the North and the U.S. has been delayed for weeks. And it's expected that the summit in Buenos Aires might see President Moon play the role of mediator once again to get the seemingly stalled talks back on track. In the meantime, on President Moon's first stop in the Czech Republic, he sat down with Prime Minister Andrej Babiš, and the two discussed issues of mutual interest as well as South Korea's bid to build a nuclear reactor for the country. Spanning continents, the president's trip now takes him to Argentina, along with the world's most important leaders. But for South Korea, the focus is the summit between Moon and Trump, and the hope that they will perhaps lift the cloud of uncertainty on North Korea-related diplomacy. Shin Se-min, Arirang News, Prague.
And more on the meeting Wednesday in Prague. President Moon and Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš agreed to upgrade their countries' bilateral ties and to prepare together for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. They noted that ties between South Korea and the Czech Republic have steadily improved since they were established back in 1990. They agreed to expand trade and investment and to firm up their country's strategic partnership established in 2015. President Moon also called for stronger cooperation in the nuclear energy sector, telling the Czech PM that the reactors South Korea has built abroad have a perfect safety record. They also agreed to boost cooperation in security, defense, and future-oriented industrial sectors like artificial intelligence. South Korea's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa, while in New York, met Wednesday with the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, to talk about North Korea and other global issues. According to Seoul's foreign ministry, the two met during Kang's brief stop in New York on her way to Panama. She thanked the Secretary General for his support for the South Korean government's policies on the Korean Peninsula and asked for the UN's continued backing. Guterres said he would continue to work for lasting peace and denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula, and he asked for Korea's efforts on other issues related to climate change, terrorism, and refugees. On Wednesday, South Korea successfully tested an engine for a space rocket, the first stage of the KSLV-2. Our Kim Yo-san takes a look at what's still left to do until South Korea can go into space on its own.
South Korea took a step closer to launching a space vehicle designed solely with homegrown technology on Wednesday with a successful test launch of a rocket engine. The next task is to develop what's called a clustering technology that groups the 4 75-ton engines that constitute the 3-stage Korea Space Launch Vehicle 2, dubbed WWII. Researchers must conduct tests to enable the 4 engines to work as one, and they also need to carry out further research on assembling the 3 stages of the rocket.
We've been running tests on engines for stages 2 and 3. We now have the difficult but important task of assembling and testing the rocket.
If everything proceeds as planned, WWII will be launched in October 2021, which will enable South Korea to realize its space sovereignty ambitions. Kim Yo-san, Arirang News.
I'm Devin Whiting, and those are your news headlines.
Almost 7 decades have passed since the outbreak of the Korean War. 6 million soldiers were involved in either side of the conflict, including forces from 21 nations representing the United Nations who fought alongside the South Koreans. Although the peninsula is still technically at war, with a peace treaty never signed and the nation divided, memories of the conflict itself is fading, with more and more veterans passing away each year. But our guest today, photographer Rami Hyun, has taken upon himself to launch an ambitious project to document what remains of the war, namely the veterans still alive today, and honour their sacrifice. Rami Hyun is here with me now. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you for coming in today.
My name is Rami Hyun. I'm a professional photographer working on the Project Soldier program.
So yes, you say you're a photographer and you've talked about this project. So can you tell us a little more about what this project is about?
Basically, Project Soldier program is taking photography on-duty soldier and the veteran and their family. So record them and to let them know how proud it is, or the next generation have to know what they did.
How come you decided to start this project? Where did the origins of this project come from?
Because I spent 2 years, 2 months in the Army military service 2000-2002, and then I don't have that much like the patriot something to focus on the soldiers. But when I studied America and back to 2010, I working with the first division in the Iraq Army, and at that time I making some movie, and I interviewed like 75 different soldiers, officers, and then one of the sergeant major said, he's proud of the serving the Iraq Army during 28 years, but he ashamed of the father, ashamed of the husband, because he has 2 kids in college, but he didn't finish the one album because he don't have a time to play with them. So his one wish was after 2 years later, he can retire the army in 30 years, and his first wish is to have a family trip. So I was kind of shocked because sometimes I hate them, because I said some bad word to them, but I never about their sacrifice. But he sacrificed country. His family sacrificed country too. But result is you don't have any kind of family during 30 years military service. The reason that, I just want to focus to taking the photo of them and then tell them how you're proud about the military service as a good man, because they don't have that kind of record before. The reason I started this kind of project.
So if I understand correctly, it's to give them back pride of being a soldier. Let's look about your veterans project, your Korean War veterans project. So can you tell us a bit more about that and how that started?
Because during the 2013, I was focused on the recording ROK Army uniform, the ROK Navy, something photography with their uniform and the group photo and the family. But I have an exhibition in 2016 about the military uniform show. And one of the Korean War foreign veterans stepped by the exhibition. And I met him, I just have an interview with him, and then I saw the part of his eyes about participating in the Korean War. And then I never seen that kind of people before, because at the time I'm 38 years old, and then during times I saw the many Korean veterans, but that was the first time see foreign Korean veterans. And then when he talked about the Korean War, he was 87, and the Korean War only 3 years. That is less than 1% of his life. But he said in his life, and as a man, he is one of the proudest is participating in the Korean War. So that times I kind of shocked, because also I thought that, hey, I'm going to check it out, their story or their face or their topic something, but they don't have it exist, only news and some event. The reason I starting to visit them, taking photo and record them for them on next elections.
I think many South Koreans understand and recognize the sacrifices these foreign soldiers gave to the Korean War, but sometimes it's very hard to actually meet them face to face and to even actually feel what they, hear what they went through. So I guess your work is to try and connect that. So tell me, how many veterans have you met, and how many veterans have you taken photos of?
I think I visited 2 countries, UK and United States, and then I saw 60 different countries veterans, almost like 600, including Korean War veterans too.
So 600 veterans there. So when you meet these veterans, how do you, what do you do for them? What kind of photography and what do you give them?
Basically, I just visit them, and I made a studio. I photograph them, and then back to Korea, I make the sponsor from the frame, and deliver it back to them.
Okay, so you take individual photos, but you also take group photos as well. I actually have one that we're with me now. So this is one of the one of the pictures that you took with you when you went to the US. So can you tell us a little bit about this photo
this photography I shot in this year, 2008 in May. This is Puerto Rico in United States territory. So Puerto Rico is kind of like United States, inside the United States. They participate in Korean War 65,000 parts in Korean War, but they're not and many people don't know about the Puerto Rico because there's not an issue about that. But their fight almost front line, all the front line in the Chosin River and then Incheon, the operation 2. So I stepped by in May. There was a Korean War Veteran Association office. So I made a photography of the group shot and then the single shot too.
So you took solo shots which you gave to these soldiers as well. I mean, looking at these veterans, I mean, I'm wondering, how did they feel when you, a young photographer, comes to visit them and takes these photos of them and gives them as a present as well? What did they say to you?
First times, I never think about it before because I just showed them and then I'm from Korea, and then they kind of shocked and then surprised. You're from Korea for us? Oh yeah, because you already did for us a very good job and a very honorable job. The reason I just come here, take a photo of you, and then I just want to feel you how you are great to us. And then, but they impressed because they saved Korea, and then their Korea grew up, and I born there. That one young gentleman, young people came to them for photography, and remember, they kind of impressed. They just want to remember. That was one thing.
Sometimes, I mean, in South Korea, obviously we're very look after our veterans. We have a connection with our veterans because they're our direct grandfathers and relatives. But in the US, I mean, it's almost, in the US and the UK as well, it's almost called a forgotten war because there were so many other conflicts that the US especially had to go through, the Vietnam straight afterwards as well, that it kind of was a lot of sidelined. So when these veterans, when you have show these kind of photos, do they have any kind of reaction to that?
Because they said that they got a lot of honor from the event, especially Korean Affairs Department and the Korean people, but they said that there was always one of them. But when you step onto my studio, when you take the photo of them, they feel like a hero because they see their own face, their own portraits. Because as a war hero, also one of a man, then they appreciate about what I did.
So you did this by yourself because, you know, you very much, it's kind of, you said you ran into someone at one of your exhibitions, a foreign veteran, and therefore it linked from there. So, but then you've been to the UK, you said you've been to the US. I mean, how did you go about doing that? How did you reach out to these associations and veterans themselves?
First of all, I just have a little bit saved my money, and I got a little bit loan, and then well, always think about the money, money, money. But when I did this kind of job and I met them, I cannot think of only money because they're dying today. Because especially in America, 1.8 million participants in Korean War. When I step by 2016, 340,000 still alive. But when I step by America October, they say 119,000 still alive. They mean like every day, more than 400 veterans pass away. So before they're gone, I have a duty as Korean, as a photographer, I have a duty for recall them and to let them make the honor and to feel the honor that you're a hero. They saved Korea. Also, I believe that next generation have to know what they did for us. The reason I did this kind of keep doing this without kind of hard thing about money problem.
So you're saying you fund this all yourself. Do you not have any kind of sponsorship or some people who are willing to donate?
I applied many times, but most time deny. And then two companies, one of them called Singsan, and sponsor a little bit. And then one of the times Hanwha sponsor the September, taking the Washington D.C. 100 battle ranks. Possibly they pay the money for be there and they make a frame. And then most of them sponsored by the many people. I don't never know that. Because when I be there, take a photo, and I back to Korea, I just retouch it and then post in my Facebook. And they see my photo, they send the money for making the frame. Then I send them again. So basically, I made almost 400 veterans make the photo frame that was from the people sponsor, Korean people.
Wow, that's quite impressive. I mean, this sounds very much like a passion project for you. I mean, let me talk a little bit about the UK as well, because as I said, I'm from the UK. I was born and raised there, and I've met some British Korean War veterans, and for them it's been very difficult as well. They very much feel there that, you know, they were forgotten for a long time, and they described it themselves as a forgotten war. So you went to the UK. Can you tell us a little bit about how your experiences in the UK were as well?
Because whenever I ask about first time whenever I met the Korean War veterans, sometimes I ask how was the war, and then that times I think most of the veterans say, oh, I don't want to talk about that because so many deaths, so many painful. But they said only we have a very snow, rain, hunger. It was very, very difficult. But when they backed UK, they didn't know how they did it for what. But past almost 50 years, 65 years later, they see the Korea right now, and then right now, they feel how they developed things to do before almost 65 years ago. Korean War veterans, and more hard than we never think. They're still painful about the war, but when they're back to Korea, when they see how developed Korea, how many people still alive, and then their PTSD and their support disappear.
And you say your mission is to help honor these veterans, but also to bring light to younger people as well. I mean, how have people reacted to your work? How do people view your work?
basically, veterans, most of veterans die, their wife, their friend is dying, and they don't have that much enjoy things in life. When I bring their photo, they smell like a baby. Very much they like it. And they're very happy because they got the medal, but just the medal. But the photography itself, I shot their life, and then they feel their life is success as a man, as a soldier, as a Korean veterans. They're pretty much happy. And then, even if they never know about the veterans, people see their photo, they appreciate about the veteran too. Because when they see the eyes, we can see how proud it is. We can see how they did a good job for us.
I mean, but what about people who view your work? I mean, not the veterans, but the Korean public maybe. When they see your work, how do they react? For example, the people around you, the people you know, what do they say when they see you doing this project?
Because they always think about the Korean veteran is something subject to think like that. But they don't see that much directly the photography, directly the people.
The actual people, like individual persons.
Yeah, because when I shoot the photography, I just straight look at the camera, it's black and white. And then people feel something different because when they step on the studio, they like a soldier in the 65 years ago, they show up their life as a soldier and Korean veterans, and then their value included the picture. And then when they see the picture, they feel it, and they change it.
So do people around you appreciate what you're doing?
Absolutely, yeah.
But then, yes. So then let's look ahead now. What's your plans ahead? So you are going to continue looking for more veterans? I mean, there are, I know, tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands of veterans still alive. Are you going to try and find each one of them?
I try to, because next year I'm planning to go United States, because I'm planning to go be there and to buy some camping car. If I step by 2 states a month, I can step by whole 51 states in 2 years. Because in 2 years, we're going to lose most of them. Before too late, my goal is that I want to recall them as much as I can.
That's a very ambitious project. all 50 states in 2 years. That's going to be quite a big trip as well. Is there anything else that you'll be doing as well during the next few years as well? Is that your main project for this year, for the next couple of years now?
This project, I think I'm going to go until 2023. Because 2023 is almost the end of, stop the war after 70 years. Before that, that times, most of veterans are going to be over 90. So before too late, my goal is to step by whole 21 country, find out one of the veterans. So I want to recall them and call and feel their hero as a human, as our nations, and then to liberate next generation, this has to let them know.
Well, it's a fascinating project, and it's an honor to have you here today to tell us about it. I hope you all the luck, best of luck for your future and for this project, and hope you reach as many people as you can, and hope you get the financial support, and the Korean people appreciate what you're doing as well.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our show today. But I'll be back same time tomorrow, so I hope you can join us then. Thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Goodbye.